All right, we're about to dive into a pretty radical new idea, one that suggests a fundamental force of our universe, light itself, might be completely different from anything we've ever been taught. So let's get right into it. You know, for centuries, we've felt pretty confident in our understanding of light. But what if all that knowledge is just scratching the surface? A new theory is proposing that what we see as light is just the very top layer of a reality that is infinitely deep, complex, and chaotic. To really get what this new theory is suggesting, we first have to take a quick look back. Because the question, what is light? Well, it's been stumping the greatest minds for thousands of years, and it's sparked a debate that's shaped modern science. For the longest time, the whole argument really boiled down to this. Is light a stream of tiny particles, kind of like microscopic bullets shooting out of a light bulb, or is it a wave moving through space like ripples spreading across a pond? These two ideas were the heavyweights, and they battled it out for centuries. So how exactly did we get from that simple particle versus wave debate to where we are today? Well, it was a long and winding road, and it was built by some of the most brilliant scientists in history. The whole thing really kicked off with the ancient Greeks, but the main event was in the 17th century. You had Isaac Newton in the particle corner and Christian Huygens in the wave corner. For a while, it looked like the wave theory had won, especially after James Clerk Maxwell showed that light was an electromagnetic wave. But then in 1905, Albert Einstein threw a wrench in the works with his concept of the photon. And that led us to this really strange idea we have today, wave-particle duality. That somehow, light is both a particle and a wave. And that weird duality has been the bedrock of modern physics for more than 100 years now. But what if it's not the final answer? What if it's just a placeholder for a reality that is way, way stranger than we could have imagined? And that's exactly where this radical new idea comes in. It's called the Multidimensional Light Refractions theory, or the MLR theory for short. And this theory doesn't just want to adjust our current model, it wants to tear up the rulebook and start completely fresh. Okay, that definition is pretty dense, I know, so let's unpack it. The first step is to forget everything about particles, or waves. This theory says to picture light as a magnetic field that's just teeming with chaotic particles. And here's the really wild part. It says these particles aren't just moving around in our world, but they're buzzing across an infinite web of tiny, interconnected dimensions that we can't even see. So, a chaotic field of particles zipping across infinite dimensions, what does that even look like? Well, to get a handle on it, we need to peel back the layers of the theory itself. The core ideas here are pretty mind-bending. We're talking about particles that interact in completely random and chaotic ways. And this chaos isn't just happening in empty space. It's happening inside a fractal-like structure, a pattern that repeats itself whether you zoom way in or way out. And to top it all off, the theory claims light is basically its own power source, running on a continuous, unstoppable internal reaction. A really good way to picture this is to stop thinking of a beam of light as a straight line. Instead, think of it like one of those Russian nesting dolls. The light that we see is just the biggest, outermost doll. But hidden inside are countless smaller dolls, each one a whole complex layer of its own. The theory even gives these layers names. So what we can see is called the general light refraction, or GLR. But nested inside that are countless sublight refractions, or SLRs, and it just keeps going, deeper and deeper, down into micro and nano layers. It's a picture of infinite complexity packed inside every single beam of light. Right about now, this probably all sounds like something from a science fiction movie. But this is where the story takes a fascinating turn. The author of this paper didn't just come up with the idea. They claim they actually built a machine to see it in action. And their conclusion from that experiment is incredibly bold. They state that what they saw confirms that light isn't a simple straight line, but is, in fact, this multidimensional, deformed light refraction. That's a huge claim. So this is the device. It's called the Clean Light Transversal Multidimensional Discs. Yeah, it's a mouthful. But the core idea is pretty cool. It's designed to work like a prism, but instead of splitting light into colors, it's supposed to split it into dimensions, revealing those hidden layers the theory talks about. So what happened? Well, when they put the device in sunlight, the light that came out the other side wasn't a clean beam at all. They describe it as a deformed ray of light. And what they saw was that each different disk seemed to be capturing a different piece of that light, with different intensities and pointing in different directions. The author argues this is the smoking gun, visual proof of those nested dimensions at work. Okay, let's just imagine for a second that this theory is onto something. If light really is this infinitely complex, self-powering system, what could we actually do with that? What would the applications be? Well, the paper suggests some pretty game-changing possibilities. First, if light generates its own energy, could we harness that for new kinds of clean energy production? Second, could the infinite chaos inside light be used to create truly unhackable quantum communication? And finally, understanding these deeper layers could be the key to building unbelievably powerful computers that process information using light itself. Now, of course, we have to be clear. The MLR theory is brand new. It's going to need to survive years and years of intense scientific debate and testing. But it's an absolutely fascinating idea. It's a powerful reminder that there are still huge mysteries out there to solve. And it leaves us with one big question. After centuries of progress, from Newton to Einstein, is our entire understanding of light about to be refracted?